Hey everybody, this is your man Type coming to you with another true spook story. Now, before we begin, I would like to ask that you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share me if you're feeling the content. Now, this story is going to be about what we like to call in the South the Hank. I don't know how it's spelled, but through generation it's been lost. The spelling has been lost, but the verbiage is still the same. And to give you a little backstory to what the the Hank is considered like a ghost or apparition that basically takes corporeal form. And this thing was literally chase the shit out of you. It becomes real enough that it can touch you. It becomes real enough that it will sense you out, seek you out, turn into your worst fears, and eat you alive. But it doesn't physically touch you or hurt you, but you can feel the impression of it. It's just a awful thing. And here in the South, they are very prevalent with all of the racial tension down here, the slayings, the hangings, and the lynchings. Uh, these apparitions took on a form of their own. Now they've always been in the South, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if they're in the North, uh, above the Mason-Dixon line, but since I'm old Southern Florida boy, we heard stories of them. So this time I'm going to tell you about three. And again, I experienced one myself, and the other one came from my mother, and one came from my father. Well, my father and my uncle. And I can't express enough just the terrifying thing it was, that these guys was talking about a big strong man, and it brought chills to their face. So this Hank is a hell of a fucking entity. So without further ado, I'll start with the one that my mom experienced. So this is back when my mom had finally got off drugs, crack cocaine, and everything. Around about 1993, 92, we was living in the projects called the Poke and Bean off Ivy Lane Road in Orlando, Florida. And there was about two churches up the road, but where you would walk up the road on the side of the of the project apartment complex, there was like one street light for the whole road. I mean, it was very dark. Anything could have happened. Matter of fact, a lot of other toughs would hang out in the bush, and right when the sidewalk turned the corner, they would jump out and rob and things like that. Matter of fact, I was at that same location when I was gonna rob that couple, and I met the Baron. So go back and watch my story, Four Times the Baron. That's that's where I was. So my mom said she was basically she had started dating this guy by the name of Stanley, and Stanley liked to go down to the bar, which is Melody Bar. They changed it to a liquor store now. He used to go to Melody Bar, hang out at Melody Bar, get drunk, fucked up one night, probably cheat on my mom, hang out with women and everything of that nature. So one night, my mom was like missing Stanley, and she basically put on some clothes, and she was like, I'm going up there to get my man. He's probably with these whores, yada yada. So she say as she started walking up the road, she went out the back way of our apartment because we live right by the ditch in the side of the road where the sidewalk was, but further down close to Magic Fry, the Asian store. So she said she was going up there to get him or to bring him home. Women did that back in the day. So she said as she was walking up the sidewalk, she went under one stoplight. I mean one street light, and she could barely make out the dim part where the little sidewalk bent into a corner. So she was telling me as she was walking up the sidewalk, she she said she knew she wasn't dressed properly. She still had on her nightgown. She just put on some tennis shoes. I think the ball heads from Family Dollar, the all white ball heads sneakers. So she put on a pair of them and just had her nightgown on, no panties, no bra. She was just anxious going up there to get her man. So she said she's walking up the sidewalk and she's taking her time, and it's hot, it's muggy, and she sees like she hear a horse. She hear a horse, and she was like, "Ain't no horses." She just thinking, okay, she's probably just woken up 2, 3 in the morning, going to look for a man. She probably thinking she had a bad dream. She's giving every excuse in real life, talking to us kids, but she still it didn't deter her. So she end up walking. Then she crosses the street, which is Edgemore Street. She crosses Edgemore Street, staying on the sidewalk next to the ditch on Ivy Lane Road, and that gives her about 50 yards before she get to the place where the sidewalk bend. So she say as she got to the place where the sidewalk bend, this giant black horse with red glowing eyes steps out from behind the bend, the bush, and it looks at her and it started snorting at her, and it started opening its mouth and it raises its hands like the horse in front of the Denver airport, that scary pale fucking horse. It raises like it's gonna kick her to death if she come any closer. So she says, fuck this. She turns around and she started walking fast away from that thing because she was like, I'm not finna go by this horse. And then she thought about crossing the street, but then she was like, the horse was so big it can go across the street and trample her, because she said the horse was looking at her like it just hated her and wanted to kill her. So she took that as a sign from God to go back home. So as she turned around to go back home, she said out of nowhere the horse started chasing her. She can hear the gallop. And she could hear the horse noises that it make. So she's running. Keep in mind, she's an older woman too. So she's running, she's doing everything she can, and she's breathing hard. And she said the horse just kept chasing her. It didn't let up. Now she was just about 2 football lengths away from the apartment where we lived at 4413 Edgemore Street. The horse chased her under 2 traffic lights, under 2 street lights, and she just kept on running. And the horse never caught up to her, but she knew if she would have stopped or fell on the ground, whatever, that horse would have tromped on her, killed her, bit her, whatever. So she ran and she ran and she ran. And when she finally crossed over Edgemore Street, she literally like was out of breath, and she just like, I can't take it no more. The horse is just gonna have to kill me. And she laid down on the ground. And she said when she laid down on the ground, she turned over to see was the horse still there, because she could still hear the trolloping of the horse. She turns over, breathing hard. She sits up, thinking the horse was going to be in her face and bite her, kill her, breathe in his breath, whatever. And she looked down the field. Lo and behold, 2 guys come from around the bush where the horse was with guns in their hand, with guns and knives in their hands. And then they started walking real fast towards her, she said. Walking too fast towards my mom, trying to catch up with her because they saw she had fell on the ground. They was gonna come and take advantage of her, rape her, whatever you want to say. So she saw them coming, so she gets up and she runs to the house and she yelled for my uncle, because he was staying at her house sleeping on the couch. She yells for him to come outside. And by the time because she was out of breath and she was barely trying to make it, by the time she got to her front door, these guys had managed to cross over the street and they probably would have kidnapped her 2, 3 day in the morning, took her, drug her in the bush, did whatever to her. And so my uncle and my cousin comes outside, and they like see the guys, and they like, hey nigga, what the fuck you doing chasing my sister? The fuck you doing chasing my auntie? And they were like, oh shit, we didn't know she was your people. Y'all motherfuckers crazy, dog. We out here just trying to get it. So my uncle and them turned around and they fired up on them. Womp, womp, womp. Let them things go. Them shells hit them. So now my mama is like, yeah, that's right. That's right. So I don't know if one of them got hit or not. I'm a kid. I'm getting this story told to me. So they go in the house. They asking my mama, why you out there that late? It's dangerous out there in the hood. Going to that bar looking for that man. And this is what she was saying. So they said, so why you just didn't go to the bar? It's a lot of people up there. You would have been safe. And she's like, a big giant horse chased me back home. So she was like, a big giant horse chasing you back home. And we thought she was crazy, what they were telling me. They like, man, your mama was crazy. We knew she had just got off that crack. Maybe that shit was fucking with her head. They were making all kind of petty ass jokes like that. It wasn't funny to us, because we experienced that epidemic with my mama. But to her dying day, she always told us a story of how that horse chased her. So now my grandma chimes in, and my grandma was like, that's what we call a hank. And she like, that hank saved your life. She like, Pat, that hank saved your fucking life. You need to be grateful. That was none but God. And my mom like, the horse was gonna kill me, mama. And she, that horse wasn't gonna fucking kill you. It's a horse. It would have trotted your ass all over this bitch. You wouldn't be here. That horse saved your ass. So that was the story of the time my mama, her encounter with the hank. Now, I'm gonna tell you the time where my dad and my uncle Freddie encountered the hank. So again, they was downtown Orlando area, right off of Division and Church Street. And back there was like apartments. It's all Amway Center now, and barbershops and restaurants for the fancy and rich. So my dad little 2-story apartment sat right at the corner of Division and Church Street, in between Church Street and Jackson Street, if you just want a geographic location. So my dad was like, him and Uncle Freddie was sitting up there. Uncle Freddie, wine, and my dad, they was up there drinking, eating pork rinds, and just shooting the shit. So wine say, I'm finna go in the hole and get me some weed. And my dad never smoked, but my Uncle Freddie did. So Uncle Freddie said, yeah, I'm gonna go with you. So he slipped on his shoes. And Uncle Freddie, I love Uncle Freddie. He was so cool. And he slipped on some shoes. So him and Wine, they go to the hood to get some weed. This about 2, 3 day in the morning. And they walk downstairs, and they telling me this. They say, so when they got downstairs, Wine said, hold up, I forgot my razor blade. So Wine run back up the stairs, go in his effects, and get a razor blade, straight razor, whatever. So Uncle Freddie waited downstairs. So my dad said when Uncle Freddie was waiting downstairs, he didn't want Uncle Freddie to wait downstairs by himself. So he got off the porch and he went downstairs and waited for Wine to come downstairs to join Uncle Freddie. So while they was down there, my dad said it must have took Wine forever to come downstairs. So they started hearing people behind them talking. And the people that was behind them talking was constantly sitting up there saying obscenities to him, telling them how they gonna fuck them up and how they want shit, and they were just cursing. So my daddy was like, all right, bitch, get fucked up here. And Uncle Freddie was like, he was nonviolent because he had seen war, like real war. And he was like, come on, don't do that right there. Don't do that right there. Y'all let them go. They just kids. They just some drunks talking. Let's just have a good time. Go get some weed and some more bill. That's Uncle Freddie for you. So my dad said, I'm going to walk with y'all because, y'all drunk and y'all high. dad wasn't too drunk. So Kim, Wine, and Aunt goes around there on Jackson Street to go over there to the hole, and they had to walk down a little bit to where you get the Jenny B's. That's like a black restaurant that used to be there. It's ain't there no more. So they had to walk to South Street and Jackson Street, right up in there. That's where the weed man was, and that was about, again, about 3, 4 city blocks. So they saying as they walking, they constantly hearing the people hackle them, curse them, but when they turn around and look, they don't see nobody. So right before they got to the place where they supposed to get the weed from, they see like about 5 or 6 Hispanic looking men. And these 5 or 6 Hispanic looking men are all ganged up together, and they sitting up there cursing them out, talking about how they're gonna beat them up, how they're gonna kill them, fight them, things of that nature there. So all three of these guys are ex Army Rangers. I think Wine was a former Marine, but my dad was Army Ranger and my Uncle Freddie was Army Ranger. So these dudes really can't handle themselves, right? So they stepped to the Puerto Ricans like, bitch, we gonna tear your ass up. We waiting on this. Now everybody's sitting up here drunk or impaired in some form or fashion. So my dad say the first thing he did was he grabbed one of the Hanks, one of the Puerto Rican guys' head, and say first thing he was gonna do is put his knee and they put his knee in one of their faces. So he say when he grabbed the head of the thing, because they had let him get that close, say his hand was cold and it slid off the person's head, even though the person had hair. Listen to me good, y'all. Slid off the person's head like it was a cold bowling ball or something. He said it just didn't feel right to his hand. So after he grabbed, it's like he slapped his own knee. And then the people were still sitting up there, and Wine and Uncle Freddie, they was throwing blows at these 5 to 6 apparitions that was very corporeal, very real, but they wasn't hitting them. It's like they was dodging, like boxers dodging. And keep in mind, these ex-military cats, they know how to get down. They know how to bring the boom rush to your ass. So they was like, my dad told them, hey, something ain't right with these cats. Let's go away. So Wine and Uncle Freddie just back up. They say, yeah, we ain't got time for this shit. They just stupid. They just hacklers. They don't want to fight. They don't want to touch us because nobody hit nobody. So the guys, so as my dad say, as all three of them start walking back to the house with the weed and the beer and stuff in their hands, say the guys start getting aggressive. Every time they would turn their back to them, they would get aggressive and they would like yell really loud obscenities. But when my dad and them turn around to face them to fight them, they would calm down and go to laughing, yeah, fuckers, yeah, saying racial slurs. So that happened all the way till my dad and them got back to their house and they crossed over Division Street to go back upstairs to my dad's apartment. So my dad looked down the stairs when they got up there, and my dad went and got his pistol, and he was like, "Oh, if they come up here these stairs, I'm gonna shoot them." So they got there drinking on the porch, and they waiting to shoot them if they come up the stairs. Now, listen here, good people. Uncle Freddie, Wine, and my dad say the same thing. These are 3 men with the same accounts. They say when they got to Division Street, the hecklers was constantly across the street pointing at their house, heckling, doing all kind of gestures like fuck you gestures, turning around telling people kiss their ass, look at my full moon. They was saying all that kind of shit there. So my dad say they got sick of it from taunting them for like 3 hours. So they like, yeah, let's just go in the house. I mean, not 3 hours, about 30 minutes. And they say, let's just go in the house. Fuck them. They ruining our night. People, as soon as my dad, Wine, and Uncle Freddie went in the house to sit on the couch and watch TV, whatever old men do after the night of drinking and partying, because it's in town. These old heads just rest a little bit. As soon as they went in there was a drive-by that happened, and the drive-by left all kind of bullet holes on the porch of my daddy's apartment complex. The police had to take pictures and everything. It was a drive-by sprayed up the the apartment complex because the people was looking for the dude named Bam that lived directly underneath my dad, and they shot up Bam house, and it ended up the bullets end up hitting the chairs and shit that my daddy had on the porch and the wall. So if those Hanks wouldn't have got my dad and them to get in the house by pissing them off, stressing them, whatever, my father, my uncle, and why wouldn't be here today. That's crazy, right? Now, here is a personal one that happened to me. Now, we knew about when I was over there in Riverside and the shadow man chased me. I don't know if that was a Hank, or Angel, or what, but this is a totally different thing like this. This is my encounter with the Hank. So, as I'm sitting around chilling, I'm at this chick house. I'm finna smash her ass to death. You know, I'm 27, 28 years old. I'm chilling, ripped up. I think I'm God body around this bitch, abs for days. So I go to this chick house and I'm like, yeah, I'm finna smash the shit out of her. So as I'm sitting in the chick house, I kept hearing a little baby cry. And I'm asking her, I didn't know you had a baby. And she said, I ain't got no baby. I said, okay, I keep hearing a baby. She said, no, I ain't got no baby. I said, all right, cool. So I'm sitting up there. Now I constantly hear this baby cry. Wah, wah. I say, now you got to hear this baby crying. She say, man, you tripping. I ain't got no baby. I say, all right, all right. I say, well, shit is my imagination. So you got a TV in the other room? She say, no, man, we listen to music. She say, you bugging. We chilling or what? I'm like, yeah, I'm chilling, you know, like the motherfucking joint. Let's ride. So she done spark one. I'm hitting the bitch. She hitting the bitch. And I keep hearing the baby holler and cry. So I say, something going on. I say, something up. So she like, nigga, you tripping. You just hit the bitch 2 or 3 times. So I get up and I say, let me go to your bathroom, freshen up some. So I get up and I go to her bathroom. People, I pull the shower curtain over because I'm looking at shit. I'm that type of dude. If I come to your house, I'm gonna see how clean you is. You got a ring around that tub, I'm out of here. If the toilet seat ain't clean down there, if the toilet ain't clean down there on the floor where the little bolt hold the bitch to the ground, I'm getting the fuck away from you. Cause that means you ain't taking time to clean that shit. I don't know what you ain't taking time to clean. Real nigga shit. So I sit up there and I look in the bathtub and people, what I saw was 2 little babies, 2 little chocolate, beautiful black kids. And they just sitting there crying. And I say, what the fuck this bitch doing? And I told her, I said, could you come your ass here? I think her name was Camilla or Camille. I said, Camille, get your ass in here, man. What the fuck you got going on? And she was like, what the fuck? I say, who these 2 little babies is? You talking about you ain't got no babies and shit, bitch. You hide babies in the tub to get a shot of dick? I say, I could have paid a babysitter to watch the bitches so we could have got it. And she's like, them ain't my babies. She say, I don't know how these babies get in here. Somebody must have broken my shit. So the babies sitting out there crying. And they wasn't dirty, they wasn't wet, they was all wrapped up, cute and beautiful like and shit. So I say, I'm finna pick one of these babies up. She say, man, don't touch them motherfucking kids. I say, they babies and they crying. She say, listen to me, don't touch these kids. And she grabbed me and she pulled me out the bathroom and she closed the bathroom door and she locked the bed. She say, don't you ever touch them kids, don't touch them kids. I say, so you know they in there? She say, I ain't never seen no kid. She say, listen, I'm finna go. She say, come on, let's go, let's get out of here. And I'm like, damn, this bitch ain't gonna leave the kids. So now I'm like, I'm a gentleman or a daddy. I can't do this. I say, come on, man. Let's just get the baby some formula. Let's call the police or something. Tell them somebody broke in your house. She say, them ain't real kids. And I didn't know what she was talking about. She say, them ain't real kids. So now I'm thinking this bitch done lost her mind. I'm looking at the baby. She looking at the baby. We hearing the cries together. And you telling me these ain't real children? Okay. Nigga, I don't even want to screw you no more. I'm disgusted by you. So she was like, them ain't real kids. So she closed the bathroom door and she wouldn't let me get back into the kids. So me, I say, well, I ain't got time for this shit. So I just left. I say, well, you gonna yawn. So she like, don't leave me here with them kids. I'm, bitch, they yours. She like, them ain't real kids. So I say, well, let's get in the car and go ride. So I went straight back to my mom and them house. And I say, Mom, call grandma right quick. So mama get the landline, call grandma. I said, Grandma, it's two kids in this girl bathtub and she keeps saying they not real babies. And grandma say, where you at? I say, I'm old. I say, no, my grandma say, where she live? I say, I'm over here in Callahan. I say, she live in the apartments right off Callahan. And so she said, Callahan? She said, is that over there by Robinson Street? I said, yes, ma'am. She say, baby, did you touch them kids? I say, no, ma'am, grandma. She say, good. She say, them kids would have stuck with you. My grandma say, them Hanks. I say, they Hanks? I say, what the fuck are Hanks? She say, baby, get away from that bitch and get away from them kids. Say, cause them Hanks, they hunting that girl. Say, that girl done had abortions, at least 2 of them. And she had them in that tub. And that's the spirit of that girl having them abortions in that tub. Say that whole fucking raw. She may got some and she don't know how to keep the babies and she just fucking getting pregnant and not going to the hospital. She having abortions. Like she giving them to herself or however. And I said, oh shit. So, so she in the living room, I'm in the kitchen on the phone because we had landlines back then. So I say, hey, sweetheart, I need to drop y'all back home. My grandma need me to come over there. I made up some lie. So she said, oh, I don't want to go back to my house. Could you take me to my sister's house? I said, okay, cool. So I drop her off at her sister's house, off Mercy and things. So I go to grandma the next day. And grandma said, could you take me to her house? I said, come on. I said, I don't think she locked the door. So I get grandma in the car. Me and grandma roll over there. I'm 27, 28 now. Me and grandma roll over there to the house. Grandma walk in there. Grandma started sniffing around. Now keep in mind, we in this lady house that I'm trying to smash. So we ain't got no business being there. The bitch just locked the door because the girl never stayed in the house. She had a house paid for by the government, rent, food in the refrigerator. She only came back to the house to fuck and chill and go away. She never stayed the night at her house because the babies were hunting, I think. So grandma looking around and grandma say, come on, help me find what I'm looking for. So we all in the girl room, all in the girl closet and shit. So grandma say, look at here. Look at here. Tight, look at here. I say, what that, grandma? Rush in the room. She say, what that right there? What that look like? I say, it look like a baby towel. She say, what that look like right there? I say, look like a baby towel. She say, don't touch it. But what's that red stain now? I say, oh man, that's like blood and shit. And she say, I told you that bitch had abortion. Grandma say, come on, wrap this shit up. Let's go. She say, grandma say, never fuck with that bitch again. I said, yes, ma'am. So I got out of that bitch and I'm like, grandma knows what she know, right? So Camille comes shooting at me. Hey, Tight, you want to hang out and chill and shit. We can go back to my place and just fuck, get it down. I'm like, no, I'm straight. And she like, why you done change? Why you done change? What the energy for, this badass energy? I say, no. I say, I just can't deal with your mom. I say, it is what it is. I say, I'm going to back out of it. You missing out on some good pussy. Don't nobody turn down this pussy. I say, bitch, I am today. Because grandma said you ain't right. And I said, why you didn't tell us that you doing these abortions? I can't hold water. I'm pissed off because the bitch was fine, y'all. I'm like, she's like, man, you still on that baby shit? Them kids always just pop up in the middle of the night around by 12:30, 1, 2. Say, man, I don't pay that shit no mind. Them just ghosts. I paused, and I'm like, grandma was right. This bitch know what's going on. So I say, you twisted, sister. So, boom, I ain't talk to her no more. It just faded out. I ain't tell nobody her secret. It was a done deal. Now, that was my personal. So now that we on the Hank, I'm finna give you one that my granddaddy told me. This is my granddaddy, right? My grandma's husband. Now, I don't know how true this one is, because he said it didn't happen to him. He said it happened to a man in his town. So he said one day this man was walking up the road. He had been drinking at the bar. This probably was in the 1800s. Every time he tell this story, it was in like the turn of the century. late 1800s, early 1900s. I know they still had to walk and shit up dirt roads and shit. So as the dude walking up the dirt road, my granddaddy tells a story. Dude walking up the dirt road, and he hears a baby crying in the ditch. So the man said, "Who abandoned this baby?" You know, back in the 1800s, women would give birth to kids and then sit them on people's porch or put them in the bush or let an animal kill them or they would destroy them. You know, shit was fucked up for babies back then. So the old wino, drunk, stumbling home, he goes down there and he picks up the baby. And he trying to see where the baby come from. And he like, well, I'll take the baby home to my wife and maybe she could figure out who the baby is, but I can't leave the baby in the street. So he picked the baby up out the ditch, out the little box or whatever, and it was wrapped up all pretty in the thing. Say, the whole time he picked the baby up, the baby stopped crying. So he drunk and he walking the baby. So he say when the man go under the lantern light, street light, he say he looked down, he say the baby eyes was like big grown up people, wide open human eyes. So he was like, man, fuck it, I'm just tripping. It ain't nothing. So he said as he walked a little further, he say the baby mouth grew to the size of a human mouth. And he was like, nah, man, I'm just tripping. So he said as the wino kept going, the baby started speaking words to him like, hey, look at me. Look at me. So the dude drunk off shit. And my granddaddy said the dude was like he thought he was hearing somebody behind him. But he said, and the baby kept saying, hey, look down, look at me. So granddaddy said the wino happened to look down. And the wino seen the baby with a full set of teeth, with facial features like a man. And the baby was smiling. So the old man threw the baby on the ground like, what the fuck is this? So when the old man, drunk dude, threw the baby on the ground, he looked at the baby and he fell. And he like, oh my God. And he started praying to Jesus, etc., etc. He say the baby unwrapped itself out of the baby tarp and it grew legs. And it was still like a 2-3-year-old. It's like it grew to a 2-year-old, 3-year-old. And the baby buck naked started running to the man. And so the man scooted on the ground and say the man got up and the man started running from the baby. And the baby ain't do nothing but smile and was laughing at him the whole time while he was chasing it, saying boogity boogity boo, boogity boogity boo, boogity boogity boo, boogity boogity boo. And say the man just ran and he ran and that baby chased that man for like 3 or 4 blocks. Say that man ran so much and he was so drunk and so fucked up. Say that man died of a heart attack. Say when they found that man, he could barely breathe. His heart was gone and they kept asking him, what's wrong with you? Because he had ran to where a lot of people at. And he kept pointing up the road and saying, the baby got teeth. The baby a grown man. The baby turned to a grown man. And then they say the man, like heart gave out on him because he had ran and he was drunk and he couldn't take this fright. And say the baby got teeth. The baby a grown man. And my granddad say all of them was around, like listen to the man talk. And he kept saying the baby he found in the ditch had teeth. And the baby was talking and the baby chased him. And everybody like, oh yeah, he had some really good shit. Probably was on some abscess, mix some shit, mix some liquor. Like he kept mixing brown with white. They were giving him all kind of shit. So that man died of a heart attack right there. So my granddaddy said he was young enough that he can go and check out the scene. So granddaddy walked down there, him and about 3 other dudes, and they were like, well, it's a baby out here. Maybe he just afraid of the baby, thought it was a ghost, so they assumed that a drunk wino man left a baby on the road. So they went up there and they followed the same man's steps that he ran from. Granddaddy said he actually, about 30, 40 yards away, he actually saw the same baby wrapped in like a baby towel, clothes, baby blanket, and the baby was whining and crying. So my granddaddy grabbed the other dudes and said, he stopped the other dude and say, hey, don't go there. Don't do it. Say you just chased that man to death. My granddad say, that's a Hank. That man wasn't lying. He dead over there. They chased that Hank chased him. So the other dude was like, hell yeah, it's a baby. So they were like, that's a baby laying in the ditch. And my granddad said, that ain't no baby. That's the Hank. It's hunting people. It's scaring people. It's killing people. So my granddad and them, being from the South, they know shit. So they back up. And my granddaddy said that he didn't turn around because he like, fuck that shit. So he said one of his homeboys turned around that he was walking with and say when he looked back to look at the baby, say the baby had stood up and it was just a little small little toddler. It had stood up and it was just waiting at them, looking. And it had a pacifier in his mouth. And say the little baby took the pacifier out of his mouth and smiled with a grown man smile and shit, eyes and teeth, and waved at the dude. And were like waving at him like, hey, laughing real loud. So my granddad said, don't turn around, don't look back, don't look at it. And his friend turned around and they just kept on going and the baby stayed there all night doing that to a lot of people. And that's the story of the Hank. Now, I don't know how y'all feel about them stories. I don't know what y'all got to say about that type of shit. But here in the South, Hanks are real, man. Some of them scare you to help you. Some of them scare you just to kill you. You don't know what you're going to get. 9 times out of 10, they helpful. They're going to keep you out of danger. But when they want to fuck with you and they just some malicious ass, adolescent ass spirit, they will take your ass up and through there and kill you people. So listen, be very careful when you come to the South and you feel the need to walk up these roads 2, 3 in the morning and you run across some people or somebody that ain't right, your energy just ain't right, they just feel evil, wicked, and shit, or you see a little baby by itself, man, that's a booby trap, a spiritual booby trap, and you get the fuck away from them people. Don't engage them, don't talk to them, ignore them. Just an added bonus, and I'll talk about this in the recap. In the islands, if you ever go to the club or go to the bar and you walking home by yourself and somebody come up to you and start talking to you, asking you questions, you're never supposed to speak to them. You're supposed to walk past them and ignore them. Because when you speak to them, they get them all right to kill you, to hurt you. They may jump in front of you. They may swing at you, act like they're going to hit you, but you have to ignore them in order to make it home safe. I think that principle followed a lot of us black folks over here from the island. I don't know about in other cultures, but here in the South, we call it the Hank. All right, everybody, I'm finna let y'all go and get out of here. I'm tight, telling you guys, not everything is smoke and mirrors. Sometimes this shit is real. Take care, everybody. God bless.